Hi everyone, welcome back to our Q&A. We now have America from Priority Insurance that's going to be talking to us about insurances, the benefits and the importance of having insurance for our homes. So welcome America, how
Hello.
are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me here.
Yes, most definitely. We always need someone that we can refer back and tell our clients, look, this is the insurance. This is the person that's going to help you find the best insurance, not only the most inexpensive, but the one that you're going to really need for your home. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just really happy to be here. I'm grateful for the opportunity to just have this conversation with you because it's super important. There's a lot of people that they feel like they're asking the dumb questions and they're not dumb. There's a lot of things that people don't know. And I wish they would just pick up the phone and call me. I work maybe a little too much, but I'm always available to ask, hey, is this home in a flood zone? Hey, is this a good idea? What do you think about this house? And I'd rather have that conversation before I set up a policy than afterwards.
Yeah. Most definitely. Before we get started on your presentation, and not only your presentation, but some of the questions that I have for you, please tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been doing this?
So I've been selling insurance for 21 years now. I started off when I was an 18-year-old single mother. I had to get a job, my dad said. So I started working, and my 21-year-old son is my why, and that's why I started working. And I was determined to learn and be able to provide. So I started reading, I started studying, I got my insurance license, licensed the state of Texas with property and casualty. So it's just years of experience, and he's my baby. I would do it for him all over again.
Awesome. So we're going to start off with that question. I had no idea that you as an insurance provider had to be licensed.
Yes, we have to take an exam with the state of Texas, and we don't have to be perfect. We don't have to hit 100, but we do have to know certain things, what insurance policies cover, whether it be auto insurance, home insurance, ranch insurance. There's a couple of general liability insurance that we have to know in order for us to be able to sell insurance.
Okay, great. So we are going to get started, and this is the main one for most of our agents, especially. We need to know what insurance covers or what insurance we need to have for our homes. When we're working with buyers, we need to make sure that we understand a little bit about the insurance and then know that we just can refer them over to America. So tell us a little bit about home insurance.
So with home insurance, I didn't understand. When I sold my first home insurance policy at 19, I had no idea what a homeowner actually goes through and the things that can happen in your home. Whether it be a brand new home or an older home, a lot of things can happen. Nobody explained that to me. I was just learning on my own, and I thought I passed an exam and that's all I had to know. But no, there's a lot of things that come with it. To start off, a homeowner's policy does cover your biggest investment. We're talking about your home, the place where you lay your head at. So we cover the home against fire, theft, vandalism, wind, hail, hurricane, which happens a lot in Houston, apparently. So, those little things can worry someone that is first buying a house. They want to make sure that these things are covered. They had no idea where to get this kind of coverage. And that's what we're here to help. We want to make them understand that home insurance does cover those things for them so that they don't suffer financial loss, so that they don't have to figure it out on their own, so they don't have to have money underneath their mattress that in case it gets stolen, that they have to figure it out on their own. We're here to help with that. We're here to make it less impactful for you. We want to make it as easy as possible so you have that peace of mind. In case it does happen, you can fall back on your insurance. So we cover your home, we cover your personal belongings. That's everything that you can put in a moving truck, you put in your home. That's appliances, electronics, things that you have, that you can wear, accessories, things of that sort that you actually need on your day-to-day basis. We would also cover that. We also cover other structures that would be like a fence or an outbuilding or a playground in case of wind, hurricane, or hail blows it away. It can happen. That is definitely covered on our policy. We also cover personal liability in case something, let's just say you invite someone over, you're thinking y'all are great friends, and they come over, they trip and fall, and your home insurance policy is going to pay their medical expenses regardless of fault. But let's just say that that's not enough. This person was the breadwinner and they can't go to work. and they turn around, they sue you, our homeowners policy actually covers the personal liability so that, of course, they would have to find you at fault for it before they would pay out, but it is covered so that I always tell everybody, don't invite anybody to la carne asada that you don't trust. And if you do, we're here to back you up, but please don't invite them.
Wait a minute, that makes me think, what if I have a pool? Can I get like some kind of coverage in case somebody drowns in my pool?
Well, that's why the insurance company has, a lot of people hate inspections. I have people that hate that a homeowner's policy does require a home inspection. We do it so that we can make sure, first of all, that there's a house there.
Right.
We want to make sure that it's the correct size and it's the home in case something happens to it, that we'll be able to replace it back to brand new. That's
Right.
the biggest reason that you get a home inspection for the home insurance portion. We don't work with the inspection that the appraisal is needed for the home purchase. That's a different inspection from what the home insurance does.
Right.
The home insurance is just so that we can make sure that we're going to put you back to brand new in case something happens.
Okay.
So those inspections will tell us, hey, you have a pool. And then from there on out, we have to either add coverage for the pool because, it is an exposure. It's an exposure as a homeowner. We want to make sure that you put latches on the gates on the back doors to prevent people from coming in the back gate and actually get access
to an accident.
Yes, we want to make sure that you're being responsible. So we will do that inspection to find out if you have a pool so that we can cover you correctly.
So you were mentioning about the loss of use.
Okay, so with the loss of use, what a lot of people don't know, especially in the Hispanic community, is how the home insurance can actually help you. A lot of people just assume that they have to live in a house that has been damaged some way, somehow, whether it be a fire or a broken water pipe that flooded out your house at that point. A lot of people feel like, I have to stay here, I don't have anywhere to go. But the home insurance policy does cover loss of use. Loss of use is in case something happens to your home and you can't live in your home, you have to live elsewhere like an apartment or a hotel. Your homeowner's policy will actually cover for you to stay somewhere else while you're fixing your home. It'll actually also pay for like your expenses while you're living outside of the home. So in case you can't cook in a hotel or wherever you're living at that point, your homeowner's policy will reimburse you for those expenses. What the insurance policy tries to do is make you whole again. That's what a lot of people don't know. They just figure, why am I going to turn this claim? And I'm just going to pay this out of pocket. And it can financially ruin a lot of people. And they just don't know it's part of their policy.
Is this in all of the policies or do you have to request it?
It's in most policies. It's one of the basic coverages that is on a homeowner's policy. Like in my case, I sell replacement cost policies that are with companies that are A-rated. So most of my carriers do always cover the loss of use. But some people just care about the premium. Like, give me the
cheapest.
Give me a fire policy.
Yeah.
So fire policies don't cover that.
Okay.
Those are very basic. They're only going to cover one type of loss. So it works differently. But most homeowners, HO3 policies, homeowners plus policy, or homeowners broad form, which is the most comprehensive policy you can get here in Texas, or homeowners 5 form, those usually cover this loss of use.
Okay, awesome. So I was thinking, for those that have paid off, so usually you're going to need insurance because the mortgage is going to request insurance. They're going to request for you to have homeowners insurance, right? But for people that have already paid off their homes, America, do you recommend that they have this insurance?
Yes, please have insurance.
Yeah.
Please, if you already worked so hard to pay off your house, please have insurance. A lot of people, once the requirement is no longer there, they don't have it anymore. I saw a lot of this, especially during Hurricane Uri, which is the freeze. People hadn't had insurance. In Texas, I get it. It wasn't expected. A freeze was never expected here in Texas. There was not enough premiums with a lot of insurance companies, so that's why a lot of companies closed at that time, because they had to pay out for claims. Some couldn't even deal with those claims because we just weren't ready for, and that type of loss impacted all of Texas. It wasn't just Houston. It was everywhere. And people just didn't have that policy because nobody expected it. They figured that their home could never suffer a loss like that. I saw new houses go through it. I mean, $100,000 claims of things that happened in their kitchen, upstairs bathrooms were literally just caused so much damage and people weren't ready for it. So yes, I definitely recommend having home insurance. Even if it's with a higher deductible, please get it. Even if it's a high deductible, the reason I say that is because it's going to at least give you something rather than nothing.
Right.
I always try to push it. Of course, I want you to have the best policy, but at the end of the day, I care. I care about you. I care about people, and I don't want them to have to lose their home because they can't fix their house and they can't pay for it.
Right.
That's the most terrible thing that can happen after paying off their house, that they just can't live in it. And I know there's grants. Those grants take time. They take time to kick in and for you to be able to work in your house and be able to live in it. It's going to take time. If you don't have loss of use, that means you have to go live somewhere else. I mean, there's a lot of things that are piling up on you when you can't deal with that type of loss. I'd rather you have any type of policy rather than nothing.
Right. So there are two things that pop in mind. One of them is FEMA. I'd like for you to explain FEMA as well. How does that work with all of this? Because I know FEMA took over and they helped a lot of people that either didn't have insurance or that their insurance didn't cover because they didn't have the extras, right?
Yes.
How do you work with FEMA?
So we actually don't work with FEMA. When somebody has to turn in a claim with FEMA, what will happen and what nobody talks about is that in this case, just give you an example of what happened to Hurricane Harvey. There's a lot of people that did not have flood insurance. So FEMA cut you a check. Everybody was like, let's just claim it. Let's claim this money. It's free money. It's never free money.
That is true. That is definitely true.
At that point, you don't have to pay it back. But I saw some people that didn't even get enough. They did not get enough money back from their claim. However, FEMA helped them. A lot of people did get some help, and then other people had to take out the FEMA loans, where there was an SBA loan that actually they had to get the loan and they have to repay. Even if it's a 1%, they have to repay it.
Wow.
And then they still have to buy the policy. In order for them to get the loan, you still have to go back and have the flood policy either way, because it was a requirement of the SBA loan. So if you're going to need it, I'd rather you have it than for you to suffer that loss, have to wait on money. I'd rather you be able to turn in a claim and the insurance company pay you than for you to just figure it out until somebody comes and helps you.
Wow, that's so important to know. I had no idea. Okay, so talking about that and talking about all the damages, flood insurance, there are certain areas that don't require it. What do you recommend in this case?
Well, honestly, when I was younger, it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a requirement to offer flood insurance. Then, I don't know what happened. There's been so many floods after that. Here in Houston, it never happened that way. And once that Hurricane Harvey was one of the big ones that was not supposed to happen and it impacted Houston, now it's kind of a requirement for homeowners policies to actually have you sign for you to understand, hey, flood insurance is not covered on this homeowners policy. Because now we're trying to cover ourselves because now we have to offer it. It has to be offered because a lot of people at that time, they suffered big, big losses. So they came back and said, nobody offered me flood insurance. So now we offer it. Now we have to offer it so that they can actually be covered.
I know the price ranges, depending on the flood area, right? And for those that do not have insurance, do you request or do you require that they do have it? Or is it a suggestion?
Well, now we want to have that conversation. When I was younger, we never had that conversation before, but just because I was young. I had never seen so many floods. I think the last one I lived through was like Hurricane Alice, like back in 1996 or something. It was a long time ago. So I personally had never dealt with the flood. I wasn't an adult yet. I didn't care about it yet. Until I actually became a homeowner. Then I was like, oh my God. And you're watching your driveway to see if it's coming up. You can't sleep at night when it rains too hard. Until I actually became an adult and actually bought my own house, that's when I it became important. So on top of that, the state of Texas or our homeowners policies now actually require for us to advise, even if you're not in a flood zone, we have to advise you of the home insurance application. And I have to advise you that flood insurance is not covered on your homeowner's policy. I have to have that conversation with you to actually give you the opportunity to talk about it. At that moment, I will work up a flood insurance quote if you're willing and you're wanting it. The only thing with that is that people do want it. And after people started wanting it, it's almost like it changed. We used to pay a flood insurance policy was $250 for the year if you weren't in a flood zone. Now, an insurance policy varies how close you are to a body of water. That was insane. That literally just happened a couple of years ago, where now we need to know how close you are to a reservoir or a pond or a lake. And now that determines your rate.
Oh, really? Okay, so does a elevation inspection need to be done? Is that what it's called, an elevation report?
Yeah, that's the elevation certificate.
The certificate.
When the land surveyor has to come out and measure it has to measure the elevation of sea level where you sit compared to the actual sea level. So that impacts your rate as well. FEMA flood does no longer require that certificate to give you a flood insurance quote. We only advise you to get it if you are in a flood area. We advise you because it could help you. If your home has been elevated, it can help your rate instead of just staying at that average rate or that really, really high rate because of your zone that you're in. For flood insurance, everybody has a zone. The highest zones are the A and the AEs, flood zones that are prone to flood occurrences.
Okay.
So we do recommend, we ask if you can, get a land surveyor to come out, give you an elevation certificate to give the insurance company a better idea of how higher up you sit rather than sea level. That can always help your flood insurance.
So something like what happened in the Meyerland area, that most of the homes that were flooded, because it wasn't a flood zone, they were picked up, right? I don't know, 6 feet or something like that?
Yes.
So those homes get a better rate.
They do get a better rate because the probability of having a loss is now
less.
Yes, a lot less than a lot of the. There's a lot of homes that actually stay like that. I don't understand why people like to live in the flood area. But it works. I know some people say, well, we always have a second story. And I'm like, oh my God.
We can climb. We can climb the house.
Please don't.
Okay, so another question I have regarding the flood insurance. It is a policy that you have to pay up front. Is that correct? It's not something that you can pay month to month, like the homeowner's insurance.
Correct. The flood policy is funded by FEMA, and we do have to pay that policy up front. So you would have to pay it. There are some people that just rather put it on a credit card, worry about it later. You got to pay it back regardless, but it's a little easier to do. And in some cases, when they are in a high-risk zone, it's part of their loan.
Right.
So the mortgage company will pay for that at the time of closing for them.
Okay. So when you have to pay for it up front, is it something you have to pay at closing?
Yes.
Okay.
From what I know of, they do have to pay at closing for it so that the title can send out the check for it.
Okay. Another thing is that it can also be grandfathered and or transferred, right? If the home already has flood insurance, can it be transferred to the new owner?
It can. I always try to see, especially if they're in a flood zone and this is a new purchase, I always try to see if the seller's agent can get a hold of the flood policy. That would definitely, I think, in your case as a realtor, I think it would help. Like if you're trying to sell this house and you know it's in a flood zone, and it'll probably be a benefit to the buyer. Say, hey, we'll gift this to you. We're gonna give this to you so that you don't have to deal with the flood policy. So I always try to see if they have a flood policy in place so that I can. I just try to help for there not to be any obstacles for closing.
Right.
Especially for my client and of course for you guys. I don't want to stop the deal from happening, but I definitely want the client to come up on the winning side. I want them to be covered in case something like that does happen.
Right. And so if it's transferred over, it only transfers what they've already paid because they do have to prepay for it, right? So for example, if there's 4 months left, then that's what's going to be transferred over. And then they still have to pay the rest of the year.
That's correct. From what
Okay.
I'm not really sure how it works on that end.
The
You guys
lender?
are, yeah, on the
Yeah.
loan side. I'm not really sure because from my instances, when I have had to switch it over, is because somebody's already going. They just renewed.
Closing.
Yeah, they just renewed. So this benefits the buyer, where they have a whole year worth of insurance already paid because it was just transferable. We just
Okay.
have to make sure that the policy goes from the seller to the new buyer, and they don't have to pay for it for that year. I've seen that happen where they don't have to deal with it until the next year. Then the next year is when they have to include it into our escrow again.
Okay, awesome. So this is a good lesson because our agents need to know that they can negotiate. You can negotiate the flood policy if they already have one to be gifted to the new buyer.
Yes.
That is awesome. So let's talk about coverage because a lot of people are like, well, does plumbing cover? Does foundation cover insurance? And do pools? Are pools covered? An accident in the house, someone goes into the pool and dies, is that covered? What happens then? So let's talk about the coverage.
Okay, so I'm not a professional at because I don't have a license for claims, so I don't know the ins and outs of the claims portion. But when it comes in terms of the pool, so in case something happens to the pool, that's covered on the other structures portion. In case, I don't know, a tree falls on it, damages your pool equipment, things of that sort, or if there's a lightning strike and it messes up all your pool equipment, that's covered on the other structure portion. Now, in terms of the liability, again, as long as you just make sure, like, do your due diligence when locking up your back door so nobody has access to, you're doing what you can as the owner of this pool to avoid anybody from just jumping the fence or having wild children parties at your house. As long as you do your due diligence, in case of a claim or something like that that were to happen, your liability will go up to bat for you. They will defend you to try to prove that you are not liable for that claim. That's what I do know, that what happens in case of a claim, that we will go up to bat. The personal liability is to defend you in case of a loss.
So this is where you say that the inspection is very much needed because then they inspect your home and realize that you do have a pool and that you're going to need that additional coverage. That is additional coverage, is that correct?
And some policies, the personal liability portion is already part of your homeowner's policy.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But it's good to have that conversation so that your agent does know there's a pool.
Yeah.
That risk is there because we're going to find out in the inspection anyways. And
Yeah.
a lot of people, they think we're the enemy, but it's really to cover your financial assets at that point.
Yeah, most definitely. So let's talk about a little bit about the plumbing because that was a big issue when we had the freeze and a lot of insurances didn't cover. Is that correct?
That is correct. So what happens is, as a homeowner's agent, what's been happening a lot lately is that people are not looking at their policies. Me as an agent, I always try to offer my best policy. I give you my best policy first. I said, this is the one I recommend. This policy covers water damage in case a water pipe were to burst, AC were to leak, water heater were to explode. Now they're like, I don't need that type of policy. I have my cousin's a plumber. He'll come right over if I need him. I'm like, okay. I give you my first policy, then I do offer the other policy that they think that they want. That's where a lot of people, that they don't understand a homeowner's policy, and they'll think that at one way or another it's going to cover, somehow someone's going to miss it, but it doesn't work like that. If the policy is not endorsed correctly and it doesn't cover the water damage, then it won't be covered.
Wow. What about foundation?
Foundation, so in a homeowner's policy, land movement is not covered, but foundation, what we consider foundation water damages, I've seen broken water pipes that happen in the foundation that nobody notices until somebody's floors are lifting, or like let's just say somebody had a pipe burst underneath a tub is one of the things that have happened. It'll damage the foundation. That water just sitting there can damage your floors and also damage the foundation. For one reason or another, some people don't have that coverage. They figure they won't need it, especially the people that have their homes that are on blocks or on crawl spaces. They figure they will never have an issue with that. And it can happen. It can always happen. I used to see it in older homes. more in older homes than I do see it in newer homes. But with the newer homes, I am seeing that these houses are being built so fast and they're not giving the slab good time to,
To rest or to.
yeah. So those are issues that are coming up as well. So I mean, it's not expensive either. Foundation water damage is not expensive, but people see foundation and they're like, nothing can happen to my house, and they'd rather go without it.
Yeah. One of the things I think that it's important for our agents to know, especially, is you are a broker. So you can actually shop for different companies. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so explain to us what that means, because I know there's a lot of companies out there that will only, that say State Farm, and they only sell State Farm versus yourself. You actually go and shop to see which is the best product, right? Which is the best company that can get you the insurance.
Correct. So because we do work with so many companies, I think it's at this point over 30 carriers that we work with that can give us options. With that, you have to learn how to endorse the policy so that they can have the adequate coverage. Because no policy is the same. No policy comes built the same. So when it comes to us, I literally followed my clients. A lot of these carriers I had been working with for years, for probably 20 years, one of the longest ones I've had. So I've worked with them for many, many years. And what we do is we put in the same information into the system to actually work each individual policy to see what's going to give me the best coverage that I know is best for you. And then we're going to have other policies that you're just gonna pretty much need to get your client to closing. In terms of, we have to have a certain coverage on the home because some loans require some type of coverage. Others require different type of deductibles for your guys' special programs. There's different programs, so we have to adjust our policies so that they can go with the programs that you need.
Oh, wow. Okay, so one last question, and this is something that I've been curious about. Does our credit score affect the price that we're going to have to pay for our insurance?
Oh, this is tough. I'm not again, financial advisor by any means, so I'm no good at this. But what I can tell you is when we're working up these rates, in the background of your home insurance policy, an insurance score is ran. Just based on my experience, from what I know, is the debt to income ratio in the background gets ran, and it's the insurance company's way of getting to know you, because right off the bat we don't know you. The insurance carrier does not know you specifically. They're just trying to get to know you. They want to give you a good rate, but they don't really know you. So the insurance score will let us know if you make good decisions. In other words, you're not wild on your credit cards or stuff like that. Again, we don't get to look at anything that's built into this credit insurance, but some way, somehow, that's the way they look at it, as your financial responsibility.
Okay, so debt to ratio to see what's going to be determined or what the price is going to be.
But we do, I've been doing this many years, so we will run the husband and the wife to see who gives us the better insurance score. I think loans, they have to use whoever has
the most, the one who works, the breadwinner.
And so we just get to use whoever's is best. So if the husband has a better insurance score, we'll use him. The wife has a better insurance score, we'll use her. Either way, in the state of Texas, you're married. And you are one. So we're going to use one or the other, whichever one helps. And we're going to get you the best rate.
Okay, awesome. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, America. That answered a lot of our questions. I hope it answered yours. How do we get a hold of you if we need insurance?
You guys can just give me a call. I'm always available by cell phone. My assistants are always in the office as well when I can't answer when I'm sitting here. I do have a team of assistants that will definitely pick up the phone for me. Or I get a lot of people just text me for me to look up a flood zone. Quick and easy. I'll email them back, or I text them right back with whatever information they need.
And America is great about texting, so I will send her a message and let her know that I'm sending her a client, and she immediately looks into it. Your phone number?
My phone number is 832-955-1404.
And your email address?
My email address is america@bestpriority.com.
Okay, and your office is located where?
We're actually located off of Highway 6 and Westheimer.
Oh, okay.
We're way out there, but I'm all over Houston, so we insure all over Texas. So we can be anywhere, and we can do a lot from
Okay.
that office.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming. I enjoyed this.
No, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Again, my name is America. I'm with Priority Insurance, where your insurance is priority.
Yeah, most definitely. And so another thing, just before we leave, it's not just home insurance. She also sells car insurance and everything else. And if she puts it in a package, it's going to be a lot cheaper for your client. Thank you so much for joining us. I will see you next week for our next Q&A. Thank you. Bye.